As we age, we can pull stories from our experiences that can light up the path for others. And there's one that I would like to share with you today that has to do with a slide in Australia in 1977. And that slide and what took place has influenced the direction of living my legacy life. And I'd like to share an acronym that came from that continues to say to me, yes, stay on track and things will be okay for you. And so to get into this, I've got to take you back 1977 in Australia. So let me set it up. I had decided, having left university, I was going to go on a trip for about 6 months. And I came back 4 years later. And because of that, I had an opportunity to visit a lot of different places. And one in particular was Australia. But I hadn't expected that my decisions would end up getting me involved in a lot of different play and recreation projects. I had spent my last few years at university in forestry and, in particular, leaning into outdoor recreation, outdoor pursuits. And with that, I started to say, this is kind of interesting play, recreation, recreation. And I thought I would take this up as a lifestyle decision. And so off I went, and notebooks in hand, pencils and pens, looking at all different aspects of play and recreation. And when I got to Australia, I ended up getting employed by Playgrounds on Demand. They were called POD. They had created what was called a Children's Activity Time Society. And I got involved with them more like a volunteer, but I got a small stipend for doing some work and did some workshops because of my background in play and recreation and forestry. And they saw, this could be a kind of an interesting time for you to share what's going on. And I had the time to do that. And I was also invited to get involved in playground design. And what that meant was I would help groups of persons in their community figure out what kind of playground they would like to build with the kids. And again, that was part of my background for many years. And I remember this one time I was given the latitude. If you place the order in, we'll get things going for you, and we'll be able to see this playground design. And I went, oh, this is great. Okay. So what I did was I actually ordered a slide, and this slide was meant to uh, be linked to a tree, a big tree that was on this plague area. And I wanted to connect the tree, remember forestry? Connect the tree with the activity of sliding so that what happens is that you would climb up close to the tree as though you were climbing into the tree and then slide down so you ended up facing the trunk of the tree. So there was a little curve in the slide. So I had ordered that, and I had ordered a metal version because I wanted to make sure that it stood the test of time. Well, what happened was I had ordered the slide, and about 3 months later, I was still available to see it. The swing arrived. I went, hang on a minute, I ordered a slide and they brought a swing. And I had to ask some questions about what was going on here. And what was explained to me was the following. They said, why on earth would you want a metal slide in Australia when you can almost fry eggs on a metal slide? I went, okay. But I was going to put it underneath a tree. I thought that through. The second thing was someone got crossed up in some of the paperwork, having made a decision, a unilateral decision to switch things over, and they didn't check back because they made the switch over. And I went, oh, okay. So someone made a decision on their own about what would happen. And the third thing was they thought at the Parks and Recreation Department that a swing would be more fun than a slide. And I said, oh, okay. I couldn't argue that one too much, but I could certainly take on the second one because the first one, I understood that, but I had explained it was underneath the tree. The second one, someone had made a unilateral decision to switch the work order. And so from a slide to a swing. And I went, this is fascinating because I had experienced it a couple of times before as a playground leader as I was coming through university. That sometimes you place your order in and someone who would switch it over, but they wouldn't share that with you. And I went, okay, so I had to live with it because there wasn't much I could do because I ended up getting a job in the outback of Australia as a recreation officer for a couple of years. And so I went from that playgrounds on demand to working with playgrounds, but also helping to develop a national park in the outback of Australia. So I had an opportunity to really get involved in a lot of different kinds of projects linked to play and recreation. But I made sure when I became that playground to recreation officer, I made sure that no one was going to shift my work orders without me knowing about it. And that is something that has stayed with me over the years. And as I start to move into living this legacy life, I find myself just about 71. And so I know I'm reaching out to those of you who are 61 plus, could be 50s. Whoever you are, I welcome you to the story of living legacy life. And that I, for one, would encourage you to get involved with it and be alert that you don't start having people shift your work order, your living life process, because people will get in there and they'll start mucking around with it unless you make a decision to stay with what it is that you believe to be of head, heart, and hands, to be true to your heart, your wholehearted approach. And so I wanted to give you a sense of that story of the slide that became a swing, and to be able to say to you, what is it that you could learn about living your legacy life so people don't start switching things around on you? Now, you may like a swing, I get that. And I like swings as well. But it was that what I called that chain of accountability that someone got in there and mucked around with. And in living your legacy life as an age or older, wouldn't you want to be able to say, I'm accountable for my life? I'll consult who I want to consult with. I'll be responsible to do what I need to do. I'll inform you about what's going on, and we'll engage in these conversations so that it makes it very safe for each of us as we get involved. And don't start mucking around with my life. And I thought that that would be a great contribution to you as you're moving into living your legacy life. And so, what I wanted to do was share the acronym SLIDE with you because it's what stuck with me. All right. Because one of the things I didn't want to have happen was to slide off to the side, to drift away from where I wanted to be, to crash, because that actually did happen a couple of times along the way. And I'll probably share some stories around that, around even a business and notions of bankruptcy and relationships and things like that, and all of what I learned because of that, and sharing those stories with you because maybe it might spark something in you about living your legacy life. But this SLIDE acronym was what I thought would be of great help today. So, what I'm going to do is suggest order a slide and have the slide delivered. And this is what I wanted to share with you. So, this slide is really about living an extraordinary life, living this life, this legacy extraordinary life, to be memorable, to be remarkable. And at 61 plus, 50 plus, wherever you might be, 70, 80, you might go, legacy life. I want to turn into it. I really would like to bring that to the foreground. I would really love to get in there and make that happen for me. So let's take a look at this acronym of SLIDE. So S is for safety. There is self safety and there's situation safety. In that slide, remember I said that I had taken into consideration the hot weather, the tree would have shaded the metal slide, and I was protecting the young ones who wouldn't get hurt from sliding down or the olders who went down it. So there's this notion of safety, your own personal safety, taking care of yourself. I sometimes use the phrase felt safety. And that's thinking about it both physical, mental, emotional, soluble, spiritual, from the whole vertical safety for yourself. And then there's the situational safety, the making sure you have safe systems and you're using safer practices as you're moving forward. And this is where I would encourage you to think about preparation checklist, prevention backpack, uh, continuous practice, because if you have preparation checklists, then you're going through and going, okay, this takes care of me, it takes care of the others I'm interacting with. The backpack is what am I carrying with you real time and metaphorically that I will bring to take care of myself or move into working with others. And what do I have to continue to practice so that I'm prepared and I can prevent things from taking place. Now, this preparation checklist, prevention backpack, practice continuance comes from my years of being a wilderness remote first aid instructor. And I kept sharing with persons I was interacting with, I don't know about you, but when I go in the outer doors, I don't want to be doing first aid. So if I use this checklist backpack, this continuance concept to be getting myself ready to be in the outer doors, then I'm taking care of myself, but I'm also taking care of others. So I pulled that sort of thread to become strings that I interact with. And so that safety then led to the five S's: set up, stride forward, stay found, shine light, and share wisdom. And I'm going to be shooting a video about that one soon. So that was the S. The L was for legacy, this gift that you give others so that they can learn from your experience. And it's based on your use of time, effort, and money. Those are the gifts that you can give to others so that they learn from you. And what that does is it sets up this notion of living life, this quality of life, standard of living that you would like to bring forward. And that brings out the what I call the five or the five branches of legacy. So if legacy is the trunk, these five branches is that you have the life branch, which is about your life in general and what's going on, what stories do you have to share. The leadership in terms of getting these safer practices, but also how do I interact with others so I can be of service. There is this legal financial aspect of things, living wills. How do you want to be remembered? These are aspects of that legal side. Then there's the learn, to remain literate about what life has to offer: 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, wherever you might go. There's some things to continue to stay on top of and learn and be curious about, which gets you to this notion of leverage, which is an expression of leverage. Just move out the E to O. Leverage is to have a lover over the age, be your lover over the age, so that you don't have to then deal with this paradox of love and rage, for example, is that you find the harmony to work with. So this legacy story leaned into the safety aspect as well, which brings me to the I of slide, which is inspiration, to inspire, to breathe in, to breathe the spirit, to breathe in the spirit, to have that life filled with all these possibilities and opportunities, and to truly understand who's influencing you and who are you influencing through this inspiration. If you're going to be inspired, what's going on? What are you paying attention to? And as you bring this inspiration out that can serve as motivation for others, who are you influencing? Because when you understand that, you start to understand the key of who is involved and who are you as a person. And that led me to the 5 I's, which are ideas and insights and inquiries and interpretations, investigations, and how do those all work together in terms of looking at who influences you and you influence who. So when you have this inspiration for your legacy and it comes from a safe perspective, you know you're not going to slide off to the side, drift off, or crash, is that you have the ability to find a way in which to follow your dream, to get into your flows, and in some ways to sort of put that stamp on that envelope and send it to others so that they might know what's happening for you. The D of slide is about decisions, and the decisions is about drawings, right? Literally drawings is if you're into artwork and your drawings, but it's also the drawings of your wealth that you've created, is that you're going to pull from that. Some of that may go into the legacy as a gift. Some of it is how you're going to be living your life. So the drawings of money that you're going to bring forth. But there's also the drawings from the well. I call it the wealth spring. And when you think about pulling up out of the possibilities and the opportunities, drawing the water to sustain you, this is the drawings that you have connected to the water. And that connects to that sense of flow, being in flow. And also, it's to think about the decisions of what it is that you're doing from a inspirational legacy and safety perspective, is that you're drawing on that generational story of those who've not arrived yet. How is it that you're influencing them because of your actions today? That slide, remember I talked about in Australia, it was positioned to climb up so you could appreciate the tree. But when you slid down, you ended up at the base of the tree where the roots and the trunk came up. And there were stories that could be shared. There was actually going to be a poster put there to talk about the connection between the tree and the slide and how they came together. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way, as you know, because that swing was delivered. And the E is for engagement, the E of slide. And this is to remind us of the enthusiasm of the engagement, the wholeheartedness that you bring forth in doing that. And that allows you to engage in the evolvement. If engagement is about getting involved and inviting others to get involved with you, there is an evolvement, a love of your history, love of your mystery, love of your presence because of that evolvement. And when you allow that to take place, then what you're doing is you're supporting the 5 Ds of decisions, which is dream, design, develop, deliver, and determine through the 5 E's that you have available to you, which is evidence, education, experience, this notion of to extend out, but also to expand. Sometimes what we do is we expand it this way and extend it out into those generations to come versus expanding it for those who are here now. So those E's and D's come together to be able to figure out this presence of that slide and what I learned from that slide. And I'm encouraging you is, do you have a slide in your life, something that happened that could become a story, it could become a metaphor, it could become an acronym that you can leverage your legacy, living your legacy story. You're 61 plus, 50, 70, 80, and you're looking at finding a way in which to live this legacy life. My story of slide was something that has been there for years and years and years. And I remember sitting at the top of that slide, all right, in my mind, thinking, oh, this is going to be so great. And then sitting on the swing going, okay, I'll do what I can with it and I'll swing. But I always remembered I really wanted to be on the top of that slide with that tree, sliding down and seeing the tree. Now, if you remember the L's of legacy, the 5 branches, the trunk of legacy, the 5 branches, I think you can start to see this weaving of story, this threads that become strings, that become cords, that become ropes. And I just wanted to share that with you today because it's something that has great importance for me. And the videos that are going to show up around his are other videos that you can continue to watch on the channel and dig in, knowing I'm going to do the 5 S's, the 5 L's, the 5 I's, the 5 D's, the 5 E's. And those are all going to become videos that will come up on the channel because safety, legacy, inspiration, decisions, engagement are really important words so that the slide that you actually want and use actually takes you to where you would like to go. So, with that, take care.